the fears of increased infections due to high political activity and modeling by experts at the Ministry of Health prompted the Electoral Commission on December 26, 2020 to ban campaigns in 16 districts, citing coronavirus red flag raised by scientists. However, the Health Ministry between February 1st and 16th registered 496 new COVID-19 cases, an 87% drop from the 3,820 cases reported within a similar period between November 1st and 16th, peak of the pandemic. The reduction in reported infections has correspondingly translated into declining hospital admissions of COVID-19 patients. Admission of COVID-19 patients has reduced by 30% to 100% for both intensive care units and high dependency unit records at 10 hospitals, including Mulago National Referral Hospital show. Whereas the Ministry of Health, Minister and the World Health Organization reported that globally, cases had reduced from 5 million in the week of January 4th to 2.6 million cases in the week starting February 8th. However, in Uganda, the total number of COVID-19 tests being done daily has also declined. The Ministry of Health scientists indicate that a total of 41,861 tests were done between November 1st and 16th, 2020, almost twice the 28,718 samples tested between February 1st and 16th, 2021. Scientists had predicted an upsurge in COVID-19 infections, admissions, and deaths due to the widespread violation of preventive measures during the just concluded elections.
In Kampala has rejected former presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi's bid to file additional affidavits in support of his petition challenging the victory of President Museveni in the January 14th elections. In an 8-1 majority ruling Friday evening, Justice Knight Percy Tuhaise dismissed the National Unity Platform's application that sought extra time to file his new affidavits. On Wednesday, Mr. Kyagulanyi filed an application seeking court's permission to allow his additional 127 affidavits, which the court had rejected on account of being filed out of time. Through his lawyers, Mr. Kyagulanyi argued that the additional affidavits comprising statements, videos, photographs, and audio recordings are essential in the petition to enable the court to effectively inquire into and determine all questions involved in the matter. Mr. Kyagulanyi, who was the first runner-up in the January polls, argued that the application was brought without delay because of the prevailing special circumstances that warranted its grant. However, during the hearing on Friday, the Electoral Commission lawyer, Mr. Joseph Masiko, and the Attorney General, Mr. William Byaruhanga, agreed with the earlier submissions of Mr. Museveni's lawyer, Kiryowa Kiwanuka, that Mr. Kyagulanyi's application was incompetent, with no exceptional circumstances to allow it to proceed. For TV Africa News, Nalgo Muyingo reporting. Owners of private schools in Uganda have threatened to stop operating under current conditions, saying the government's decision to maintain the partial operation of schools is financially unsustainable and could lead to some of them losing their property. Under their umbrella organization, Proprietors of Private Education Institutions Association in Uganda, private schools said they acquired loans from different financial institutions that they are failing to service following the closure of educational institutions in March last year. The conditions include offering them a stimulus package to salvage their low earnings, government engagement with financial institutions to ease pressure on schools, and returning schools to normal operations. The government last week released the timetable revealing a plan to reopen schools in a phased manner as a way of managing learner numbers amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the ministry's schedule, the sub-candidate classes of Primary 6, Senior 3 and Senior 5 will report on March 1st and study for 14 weeks, breaking off on May 21st. Primary 4 and 5 classes will study for 8 weeks, starting on April 6th after primary leaving examinations and end on June 4th to create space for lower primary pupils in Primary 1, Primary 2 and 3 to come in on June 7th. Education institutions were some of the businesses that were hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. Survey findings released in July last year indicated that a number of primary school owners had put their premises up for sale, while others without their next line of business.
G7 leaders have pledged to intensify cooperation on COVID-19 and increase their contribution to the COVAX vaccine sharing initiative. In a joint statement released after a virtual summit on Friday, G7 leaders raised their overall commitment to $7.5 billion. Wealthy countries are facing growing pressure to make sure lower-income nations get fair access to vaccines. President Joe Biden has pledged $4 billion in United States aid to the fund. An initial $2 billion will be donated in 2021, with an additional $2 billion coming over the next 2 years. Germany pledged an addition of $1.2 billion, with Chancellor Angela Merkel telling journalists the COVAX scheme is aiming to get at least 1.3 billion vaccine doses to vulnerable populations worldwide in the coming months. 10 countries had administered 70% of all vaccinations worldwide, while 130 countries had not yet received a single dose. Kachanchu Mtabazi, TV Africa. Karine Kanimba, the daughter of Paul Rusesabagina, hero of the movie Hotel Rwanda, has called on Belgian authorities to intervene to free and repatriate her father of Belgian nationality. Rusesabagina, a 36-year-old, went on trial in Kigali Wednesday on charges that included terrorism, prompting international calls for his release. Paul Rusesabagina, whose trial began Wednesday, is being tried for his alleged support of the National Liberation Front, a rebel group accused of deadly attacks in Rwanda. Rusesabagina's relatives said they were very worried about his health, claiming that medicines sent through the Belgian diplomatic staff never reached him. Brussels said it has offered to put Rwandan and Belgian doctors in touch with each other so that Rusesabagina can receive adequate care. Family's lawyer, Vincent Laquin, at a press conference criticized the Belgian government, denouncing what he calls a silence that risks becoming an accomplice. Brussels confirmed the filing of a complaint and the opening of an investigation in Belgium. Kachanchu Mtabazi, TV Africa News. Bank of Uganda has confirmed the cash crisis in government worsened by revenue shortfalls in the first half of the current financial year. Relative to the Uganda Revenue Authority targets, the Bank of Uganda report shows that the cumulative total domestic revenue collections for the first half of 2020-2021 financial year amounted to 9.482 trillion shillings, which is 1.383 trillion below target. Bank of Uganda explains that the revenue shortfalls were observed in all tax heads except stamp duty. Direct taxes underperformed largely due to shortfalls of 168.5 billion shillings and 108.5 billion in payee and corporate tax respectively. Bank of Uganda further stated that cumulative net domestic financing a half amounted to 4.264 trillion and the revised target is shillings 6.3 trillion for the financial year. According to the 2020 debt sustainability analysis, public debt is projected to increase in the medium term on account of the scaled up rate of borrowings to finance key infrastructure projects. In normal terms, public debt is projected to increase to 49.9% of gross domestic profit by end of June 2021. In present value terms, total public debt will rise to 39.3% of GDP in the current financial year, peaking at 42.9% in the next financial year. Kachanchu Mtabazi, TV Africa News.
We have experience as a coach. I've tried to guide these players because I've played on such levels. I know the bad and the good we can get through this match. Mauritania are the hosts. They have a lot of fans. They are good on the ball. We respect their forward. Our game with Mauritania is the final. Every team wants to come and play heart out to see that qualifies. So the game is going to be very interesting. We respect Mauritania so well. They are playing wonderful football, but we have to go.
This is Africa, and that was the news.